Are these as good as a Les Paul Standard? Let's find out. If you're watching this video, chances are you're not already subscribed to the channel. So make sure you hit the subscribe button below to stay up to date with our latest videos. And while you're down there, don't forget to give us a thumbs up too. Hi, Sam from Guitar Village here. The Gibson Les Paul Standard is the benchmark by which all other Les Pauls are judged. We've all seen videos online of people comparing an Epiphone Les Paul to a Gibson Les Paul, or maybe a Gibson Les Paul Studio against a Standard. And while these videos are great, I think as soon as we see these guitars and the comparison, we already have a preconceived idea of the differences, and we can see some of the differences as well straight away. We've put together three guitars which are very similar in the current USA lineup: the Les Paul Classic, the Les Paul Standard, and the Deluxe. Because these guitars are similarly priced and they look very similar, I think it's harder to tell the differences between them. We're going to do some playing on each of these guitars. We're going to talk about some of the specs on them to help you decide which Les Paul is right for you. Let's get started. As the Les Paul Standard is the benchmark, let's start there. So the model I have in front of me is the Les Paul Standard 60s in Bourbon Burst. This is a very traditional Les Paul, and as the name suggests, it's based on a 1960 model. The pickups they're using to get some of the traditional Les Paul sounds are the 61R and the 61T burst bucker pickups. You get a figured A flame maple top, and also with the current model you get Grover tuners as well, which is quite a nice upgrade. They do also offer these in a 50s version, which comes with a chunkier neck. You can get a gold top finish with that too, and also P90s if you want as well. The next guitar we're going to take a look at is the Les Paul Classic. While the name suggests this is a very traditional guitar, oddly enough, it's the most modern guitar out of the three. So what do you get with this guitar? First up, you've got a weight relieved body, which makes it nice and lightweight and very comfortable to sit with or stand up with a strap on. The pickups are the same pickups as in the Standard, the 61R and the 61T, but they're uncovered, so you get these really cool looking zebra coils on show. The thing that really brings this guitar to life is the switching. You've got coil taps for each of the pickups, you've got an out of phase switch as well, and then finally, and one of the coolest features for me on this guitar, is this straight to output for the bridge pickup. What that means is, if you're on the neck pickup and you've got the volume rolled down a bit, or maybe you've got it on split coil mode, and you want to boost for a solo or heavy section in the song, you just pull this switch up and it's full output bridge humbucker, and that gives you a really nice perceived boost as well. The compromise you make with this over the standard is that the top isn't quite as good. The standard has a AA flame top, whereas this is a slightly plainer top, but you may get lucky with some and get a bit more figuring on them. The last guitar of the three we're going to check out is the Les Paul Deluxe. This is based on the original 70s Les Paul Deluxes that were available. What you get with this model that you don't get with the standard is vintage style tuners. You do get a rounded C profile, which is very similar to the Les Paul standard 50s profile. What you also get with this is mini humbuckers, and these have their own unique tone which is brighter than the standard humbuckers. There's no weight relief on this one and no fancy switching like you get on the Classic, and you get a plain top, which a lot of customers are going to love. We've heard these guitars, we've listened to a little bit about the specs and the differences on them, so what are my thoughts on these three? Well, when I plugged in the Les Paul standard for the first time, it was exactly what I was expecting from a Les Paul. Big, fat, classic, iconic Les Paul sound. When I went over to the Classic, however, what I noticed was something a bit different. It is a more modern sounding guitar. You've got brighter sounding pickups because the covers aren't on there. And when I engage the single coil modes, they're not Fender-y kind of single coil sounds, but they are very useful. Something that was really interesting though is when I did the out of phase position, I noticed that almost had a single coil element to it as well. When I went over to the Les Paul Deluxe, that was a completely different animal. The mini humbuckers definitely have a different vibe to the full-size humbuckers. You don't get as much bottom end, but you also don't get as much of a pronounced mid-range hump, which some players are going to really love, and it takes on almost like a P90 element. That's where I was going to end it, did it? It didn't sound like it was going to end it, did it?
It's like, what's next?
All the gear used in today's videos will be linked in the description below. For the amp, we've been using the Vox AC30 with a single 12-inch speaker, and for the overdrive sounds, we've been using the incredible Strymon Sunset. We really enjoy making these videos, and we hope you enjoy watching them too. We'll be bringing out new videos every Friday at 4 PM, so make sure you hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with the latest videos. And don't forget to give us a thumbs up too.